Hello, Pioneer fans, and welcome to another edition of the SHU Sports Report. I'm Dan Gardella.
And I'm Ryan Toohey. Dan, we had a good bit of Sacred Heart sports action occur this past week, so why don't we get the folks at home all caught up with SHU Rugby and their spring slate so far?
Well, Ryan, the SHU Rugby team is currently in their 7th spring slate as they kicked off their spring schedule in late March with the Crimson Sevens tournament. The Rugby Sevens tournament was held in Boston, Massachusetts as SHU faced off against Quinnipiac, AIC, Boston University, and Northeastern University. The first two matchups didn't go in favor of Sacred Heart as the Pioneers fell to Quinnipiac and AIC. Looking to bounce back from the two losses, Sacred Heart found themselves up against the ropes one more time against Boston University. The surge of Pioneer offense started a comeback that would eventually overwhelm Boston University. Freshman Isabel Cuddy, sophomore Tiffany Brisbane, and junior Margaret Woods all put tries on the board for SHU to take the lead and hold on to it. After defeating Boston University 17-5, they looked to carry that momentum into their final opponent, Northeastern. SHU found themselves battling against an offensive outburst by Northeastern and once again looked for a come-from-behind victory. The Pios put on defensive pressure to provide a solid opportunity for freshman Tessa Bucky to run in a game-winning try in the final 30 seconds of play as she defeated Northeastern 24-21. Sacred Heart Rugby is back in action Sunday the 8th as they travel to Rhode Island to take on the Bears of Brown University.
Moving from the rugby field to the volleyball court, men's volleyball finds themselves in the middle of a 5-game homestand. After defeating Erskine College on March 26, the team had 2 games in 2 days. They resumed conference play by hosting St. Francis U on March 29th. Both teams were neck and neck in a closely contested matchup, but at the end of each set, it was Sacred Heart emerging victorious as the Pios swept the Red Flash 3-0. They won the first set 30-28, the second set 25-22, and the third set 25-21. Freshman outside hitter Sean Tischler had 13 kills on the day, and senior libero Josh Eisenberg had 13 digs. Additionally, redshirt junior middle hitter Taylor Bloomquist and sophomore middle hitter Rob Chatterton were team leaders in blocks and service attempts. The next day, SHU had a date with another conference foe, Penn State. This time, however, Sacred Heart were the ones coming up just short. They stayed within fighting distance with Penn State in each set, but ultimately lost 3-1. The men's volleyball team will play its final games of the homestand as well as their final 2 regular season home games this weekend. They take on NJIT on Friday, April 6th, and Princeton on Saturday, April 7th. Be sure to come out to the Pitts Center to cheer on the men's volleyball team as they look for some much-needed wins.
After the break, our own Alex Bousquet will have more Sacred Heart sports action with this week's Update Corner.
As promised, we have more Sacred Heart sports action for you. I'm Alex Bousquet, and for this week's Update Corner, we will get started with Sacred Heart track and field as both the women's and men's teams kicked off their outdoor seasons. Both teams competed across the U.S. over the weekend with multiple Pios in multiple events. We'll start with the women's team as multiple Pioneers represented SHU in the track events in Lawrenceville, New Jersey for their Ryder 5-Way Invitational. In the 100 meters event, junior Tanya Wade found herself in the top 5 with a time of 12.74 seconds. Shortly behind Wade was freshman Abigail Johnson with an 8th place finish and a time of 13.05 seconds. In the 200 meters event, Sacred Heart had 3 top 10 finishers, with senior Elizabeth Klein leading the way in 4th place with a time of 27.33 seconds. For the 400 meters event, freshman Devin King found herself in 5th place, only 0.2 of a second off of a personal best as she crossed the line at 1 minute and 0.35 seconds. Sophomore Jacqueline Thorne and senior Caroline Conti placed in the top 10 of the 1500 meters event, taking 4th and 7th respectively. Conti improved on her time, breaking her previous personal record by almost 10 seconds. Representing Sacred Heart in the field event, senior Jenna Rothermole placed 18th out of 42 hammer throwers with a distance of 48.92 meters. Just like the women's team, the men's team found themselves spread out through the U.S. with multiple Pios in multiple events. Senior Trevor Greer started where he left off, moving from indoor to outdoor. Guerrera placed 4th out of 42 finishers with a new outdoor personal best in the 800 meters event with a time of 1 minute and 49.48 seconds. Once again, Sacred Heart found themselves dominating in the Ryder 5-way invitational in both the track and field events. In the 100 and 200 meter events, Sacred Heart's freshman Elijah Pearson placed within the top 5 of both events. SHU also had two Pios place in the top 10 of the 3,000 meters event, with senior Timothy Lohner leading the way, placing 6th. The men's team dominated in the field events as well, as SHU took first in the pole vault event and the long jump event. Senior Thomas Yavorka vaulted into first with a height of 4.1 meters, while freshman Sean Mefford jumped his way into first with a 7.06 meter mark. The men's team also had Pios placed in the top 5 of discus and shot put as well. Both teams are back in action tomorrow at the Sam Howell Invitational and Friday night distance race hosted by Princeton University. We'll wrap up this week's Update Corner with Sacred Heart men's golf as they competed at the Manor Intercollegiate in Farmville, Virginia. Overall, SHU placed 6th out of 13, just 1 stroke out of 5th, and 5 strokes out of 4th place. Individually, Sacred Heart had 3 golfers placed within the top 20. Leading the Pioneers was senior Matt Shubley, who placed 9th overall with an 8 over par. Right behind Shubley was freshman Saptik Talwar, tying for 10th overall with a 10 over par. Rounding out the top 3 golfers for Sacred Heart was junior Alex Manor, who moved up 8 spots in the leaderboards in the final day, tying for 15th overall at 12 over par. The Sacred Heart men's golf team looks to keep up the success as they compete Saturday at the Towson Spring Invite in Maryland. That'll do it for this week's Update Corner. I'm Alex Bousquet. Be sure to stick around because after the break, Dan and Ryan will have more SHU sports coming your way.
Welcome back to the SHU Sports Report. We'll keep things rolling with men's lacrosse as they look to get into the win column in conference play after dropping their first 2 conference games. SHU looked to do just that as they welcomed Mount St. Mary's to Campus Field last Saturday. The Pioneers got off to an excellent start as they scored the first 5 goals of the game and held the Mount St. Mary's offense scoreless for the first 19 minutes. The Pioneers continued to dominate in the first half and took a 6-2 lead into the locker room. In the second half, Mount St. Mary's mounted a comeback that eventually tied the contest at 8 seconds into the fourth quarter. The Pioneers and the Mountaineers would exchange goals for the next 10 minutes, which saw the score remain tied at 9 with 4:36 to play. With 56 seconds left in regulation, freshman Logan Liljeberg put the ball in the back of the net to give SHU a 10-9 lead, which would hold for the final minute and give SHU their first NEC win of the season. Redshirt junior Joe Sajasi led SHU on the offensive attack with 5 goals. Following his 5-goal performance, Sajasi was named the NEC Player of the Week. The Pioneers look to carry the momentum over into their next game as they look to make it 2 in a row when they travel to Philadelphia to take on St. Joseph's Saturday at 1 p.m.
Going from the lacrosse field to the softball diamond, Sacred Heart softball began conference play on the road this past weekend with doubleheaders against Central Connecticut State and Wagner. The Pioneers started off with CCSU on Friday, March 30th, and lost the first game 9-6. However, the Pioneers would rebound from the defeat thanks in large part to their electric pitching. They won the second game against CCSU 1-0 with junior pitcher Emily Orozco pitching a full 7 innings, giving up just 5 hits and a walk while striking out 11. In the first game against Wagner the next day, junior Kristen McCann was locked in a pitcher's duel against Wagner's senior pitcher Morgan Brown. The two didn't allow a run through 8 innings. However, the Pioneers put up a 3 spot in the top of the 9th inning off of Brown. The Seahawks remained unable to solve McCann as she continued her artistry in the bottom of the 9th, propelling the Pios to a 3-0 win. McCann surrendered just 4 hits, a walk, and struck out 11. In the second game against Wagner, it was again Emily Orozco befuddling the opposition's offense. She was even more dominant than the day before. She went the distance, giving up just 4 hits and 2 walks while striking out 13. Orozco was named the NEC Pitcher of the Week for her performance. The softball team looks ahead as they take on the Bobcats of Quinnipiac later today at Pioneer Park with a 3:30 first pitch before heading to Mount St. Mary's on Saturday, April 7th and Stony Brook on Sunday, April 8th.
That's all the time we have for you today, but be sure to tune in next week for more Sacred Heart sports action, highlights, and more. For all of us here at the SHU Sports Report, I'm Dan Gardella.
And I'm Ryan Toohey. Thanks for watching.